Hi, Ishika. I think we are good to go now. You can start.
Okay. Okay. So, a very good evening, good afternoon, and good morning to everyone. And thank you very much for joining us in our fifth webinar of the Smart Healthcare webinar series. So, earlier we have had our discussions on topics like waste management, energy efficiency. And today we are going to discuss a classic example of the pharmaceutical sector of how they are contributing to the sustainability initiatives by reducing their carbon footprint. So, this webinar is also to celebrate the International Women's Day and honor our women climate leaders who are an inspiration to the world. So, for that, I would like to welcome Dr. Poonema Prabhakaran, Head in Environmental Health, PHFI, and CCDC, to talk about women in climate change and health leadership. Over to you, ma'am. Yeah.
Thank you, Ishika. Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning to the participants who are joining us from around the world. Welcome to this next edition of our Climate Smart Healthcare webinar series. So as my colleague Ishika just shared, this is a series that we started in the Center for Chronic Disease Control to grow the news about the climate smart healthcare concept within India. And we do this as a part of a partnership with the Global Partners Healthcare Without Harm, who hosts a global green and healthy hospitals network across the world. We host the Health and Environment Leadership Platform in India, which is an India arm of this network. The reason why we started talking about climate smart healthcare, because climate change, as we all know, is known as the biggest public health challenge of the 21st century, but it is also the biggest public health opportunity of this century. And the role of the health sector in climate change has become more and more important. And this has been become all the more important in this pandemic year, when we realize the big focus that needs to be shown on the public health infrastructure. The reason why we also need to become climate smart is because this is another pandemic that is on us and slowly creeping on us, and we are still less aware of the impacts that climate change can have in very many domains, not just in health, but also in the economic sustainability of the world. So what is this concept of climate smart healthcare is what we are seeking to spread the knowledge on through this webinar series. So climate smart healthcare actually marries two concepts. One is the adaptation and resilience that is important in the health sector to handle the increased disease burden that comes from acute climatic events. It also requires that the health sector itself becomes conscious of the fact that they also put out greenhouse gas emissions through their operations. So healthcare sector also needs to take care of its own climate footprint, and we can only do that through very many verticals within the health sector operations. And that spans the domains of not just infrastructure in terms of sustainable buildings, but also in terms of resource efficiency in the way we handle our energy, the way we handle our water, the waste that is coming out of the health sector. So there's all of these domains that also need to be thought through when we talk about a climate smart healthcare facility. But also need to be cognizant of the fact that it's not just the healthcare facility that is important in delivering healthcare. There's very many other actors that are also important, and that is the supply chain. So healthcare delivery also requires medical devices, medical equipment, pharmaceuticals. So a big part of our footprint is also from the supply chain, and which is why the health sector also needs to work with people who are involved in the manufacture and supply of goods and services to the health sector, not just from the upstream end, which is the manufacturing and supply, but also at the end of the life cycle in terms of the disposal and management of the waste that comes from these operations. So as we all know, India is well known as the pharmacy of the world. We have been for the longest time manufacturing active pharmaceutical ingredients in India, and UN agencies procure a big part of the supplies of pharmaceutical products from India. So it's important not just because of the sustainable development goals, a big part of which is sustainable manufacturing and consumption, but also it is one of the pillars of the Global Green and Healthy Hospitals, which my colleague Ishika will share with shortly, to do responsible and sustainable manufacturing, production, and consumption. So a big player in this whole chain is the pharmaceutical industry, and which is why we thought we should showcase one of the examples and of front runners in this in this domain. Ms. Suman Sharma has been very closely working with us on our project on sustainable health and procurement, where we talk about sustainable practices in the manufacturing sector. So the three pillars of sustainability, whether that's environmental impact or health impact or social impact, is really showcased in the work over here. And so we are delighted to welcome her this week as our speaker, as a special speaker actually in celebrating the International Women's Day. And climate leadership has been shown worldwide by women actors. And I think this is one stellar example of someone who has shown climate leadership in India. So we're really delighted to welcome her today as our speaker. Welcome, Suman Sharma, and we look forward to listening to you and your perspectives. I will hand over back to Ishika to just walk us through a little bit about the work we do before the speaker comes and takes the platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Poonima. So I'll just brief you about the work and our organization. Yeah. For Center for Chronic Disease Control, it is a New Delhi-based not-for-profit organization, which primarily focuses on knowledge generation and policy work, empowering programs, especially focusing on the chronic diseases. So coming to the Global Green and Healthy Hospitals, so rightly called as GGHH, it is a worldwide community of hospitals, healthcare systems, and organization that is dedicated to reducing the ecological footprint of healthcare operations while promoting environmental and public health in the communities. So GGHH, as you can see, it represents about the interest of 36,000 hospitals and health centers worldwide. Health and Leadership Platform is the India arm of the GGHH network, which represents about the interests of over 7,700 healthcare institutions and 1 lakh physicians in India. Few of the members you can see in the slide, which include NGOs, hospitals, and accreditation bodies, etc. Their GGHH goals include basically these 8 goals: leadership, chemicals, waste, energy, water, transportation, food, pharmaceuticals, building, and purchasing. So you can see clearly we have pharmaceuticals as one of our agenda goals, and hence we have our today's topic related to with respect to the GGHH agenda goals. With that respect also, I would like to introduce you to the Sustainable Health and Procurement Project, which basically focuses on bringing in sustainability into the healthcare supply chain. It is a 4-year joint project on sustainable procurement in the health sector, whose goal is to reduce harm to people and environment caused by the manufacture, use, and disposal of medical products, and by the implementation of health programs in developing countries. For that, we have few strategies that include reduce toxicity of chemicals and materials in health products, reduce greenhouse gases in the supply chain, and conserve resources. For example, water in manufacturing. So today we have Ms. Suman Sharma. I will just give a brief introduction of hers. before she starts with her presentation. She is an experienced marketing professional with expertise in sales and marketing in pharmaceutical sector from the last 20 years. She has studied microbiology and business administration from INSEAD Business School. She has worked in pharma companies like Eli Lilly, Glenmark, and now Centrion Pharmaceuticals. She has also been associated with the Sustainable Health and Procurement Project and the UNDP Reducing Emissions from Antibiotic Production, that is the REAP project. At Centrion Pharmaceuticals, sustainability is the core pillar of whatever work they do. And she has worked as a champion to advocate the work on sustainability in India and the APAC region. They are responsible for manufacturing in India and are strongly working with the Indian government, non-government sector, and civil society to ensure the pharmaceutical firms that take lead in ensuring the responsible production and usage of antibiotics in the global supply chain and thereby combating AMR. With that note, I would like to welcome our today's speaker, Ms. Suman Sharma, and talk about her topic. Thank you so much.
So, good evening and good day to everyone. And I think I'll just place my slides also. And Dr. Ishika, please let me know if you are able to see these slides. Is it visible?
No, not yet.
Okay. I hope now. And if it is on the full screen also. Yes?
We are able to see the screen.
Okay, thank you. And able to hear my voice also. So my sincere thanks to Dr. Poonima and everyone in the team in Ishika to be in touch with me and giving me this platform to speak about our initiatives as far as the climate smart initiatives are concerned. Equally, I'm also very thankful that to a very nice thought that how women leadership is also championing the leadership when it comes to the climate change. So very thankful to that. Also thankful to the bodies associated with that, which just now Ishika kind of introduced, which is HELP, PHFI, CDC, and Healthcare Without Harm. So my sincere thanks on behalf of Centrion Pharmaceutical. So what I will do is that I will quickly take you through my slides and maybe switch off my camera so that we can focus more on slides. Just give me a time here.
Suman, if you could just go back to your full screen mode, I think we are.
Yeah, okay. Is it right?
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So I have been already introduced by Ishika, so I would not take time to introduce, but maybe I would just take a bit time to introduce about my organization. So Centrion Pharmaceutical, I understand that some of you would also have worked very closely, is a global business to business leader in sustainable enzymatic antibiotic production, next generation statins and antifungals. I'm very proud when I'm saying that we have equally big plant in India, which Dr. Poonima and the team had visited us also a year back. We produce and sell intermediates and active pharmaceutical ingredients, APIs. So basically, APIs are core in India. However, in other parts of the global, we are also producing the finished dose formulation, which then is sold to the companies and thereby marketed in the various markets. That means the premix of the tablets, capsule, etc. also. However, while our organization has been focusing a lot on various sustainability pillar, but today's my discussion would be with respect to the antibiotic production, because that is some area where we have really taken the responsibility to the next level, and also because we are largely manufacturers of India. And I think in today's time, it's quite relevant also, because when we are going through this pandemic, people say that AMR is going to be the another silent pandemic. So it's very relevant that we talk with respect to that also. But in general, that how we are correlating with respect to our initiatives also towards the sustainability. So this is going to be a focus of my presentation. Basically, I would be talking the climate changes and why business need to be cognizant about it, and why it has become in today's time so relevant for everyone in business to think through this smart initiatives which can protect the climate. Sentence commitment towards sustainability in general, our sustainability story. Of course, in that I will zoom out on the part of AMR and its relation to environment, that in turn also speaks why we are speaking about this project. And then overall sentience after efforts. So when we speak what we are actually doing at factory level, what is our intervention at the policy level, because when we have to move along with other players, and how we are utilizing the industry platforms also. And then since it's in the entire supply chain, everybody needs to play an important role. So I would appeal to all of you that what are the gaps which together we can sort of think through to address, and then we would have question answers. This is very interesting infographic which I got it from from the NASA, and which clearly depicts that what is one parameter which is showing that what is happening at the climate change. And I think you might have seen that the from centuries now, the atmospheric carbon dioxide had never been above this line, and look at the current levels. And it is kind of now a alarm to everyone. And as we read, as we investigate, we know that it is all human initiated, and the factory initiated, and the other efforts. And also, who else has to take the responsibility? It's the people who are top in the value chain who need to own it up and do this initiatives to combat the climate change. Climate change has a very domino kind of effect. It's not just about rising of temperatures. It also comes with the threat of extinction of species. We already are aware of it. Food scarcity, extreme weather, which we are all experiencing, migrations, conflicts, and war. And of course, it affects overall life and mechanism of Earth. And I think today's generation really need to think through that. Do we really need to invest only on the wealth generation, or we need to also give the beautiful planet which we have inherited from our generation to our coming generation also? So what is the sustainability ecosystem? I think most of you are aware of it. uh, you know and why there is so much of focus on not only the revenue generation but sustainable revenue generation, and what are the pillars for that. And I think our organization and most of pharmaceutical looks into somebody says three pillars, somebody says fourth pillar, but essentially these are the pillars, which is economy prosperity, which is very, very economic prosperity, which is very, very important. Environmental protection, that how organizations are looking into, and most important is human health and social well-being also. And increasingly we are also looking at that most of the reportings which are now happening at the internal integrated reporting framework, which is IRC, and the GRI, which is the Global Reporting Initiative, is taking cognizant of all these pillars. And most of the people have now started talking about these three pillars. What it means to the business, I think there was very interesting study which I found this, and which says that the new generation and new consumer generation is now focusing very high on the social or environmental good. And the trend is now a very purpose-led purchasing, especially amongst the millennials and the centurions, as we say, that younger generation. And they are driven by a sense of purpose rather than pure monetary. And hence, in coming times, we would also see that it is more of a consumer push also, which would lead to this change. And when we work from organization to organization or institute to institute, it also means a lot for an employee when he or she is working for a good cause, and hence their productivity also goes by 30%. So when your purpose is more driven by what impact you are making as an employee, as an organization, to the environment, I think the organizations really boost their productivity in all senses. What are the sustainability actions in the business? So we are seeing that the climate change is emerging as a threat to the life, and hence a lot of people have now started talking about what are the key actions which we need to take in our operations. Increasingly, we are also looking at the customer database, which is COP, and also the intergovernment panel on climate change, which are looking at various initiatives to ensure that how the global warming is below the 2 degrees centigrade, the concept which we are already introduced to that. And hence business eyes it is an opportunity to develop and sustainable products. Pharma companies especially are adopting various platforms, which you would see in my subsequent slides also, which is like PSCI, which is Pharmaceutical Supply Chain Initiative, antimicrobial resistant group which has been formed, inter-agency group, and EcoVadis, which is an external system to validate your sustainability, and so as GRI to improve and disclose the supply chain sustainability. So what we all can do, I think Dr. Purnima was also discussing with respect to pharmaceutical, that look at our operation, that how we can reduce or reorganize our energies in operation, reduce our waste and circular economy. And this is also something which increasingly pharma companies and are becoming very, very operational, managing our corporate reputation. And so we have seen that investors, your consumers, they are looking upon to you as far as your commitments towards sustainability is concerned, both ways, if you are doing good and if you are not doing good. So you one need to be very, very careful about it. Of course, your carbon emissions, and a few minutes from now I would also be discussing that how our products are also the environmental friendly products, managing a product portfolio which incorporates sustainability, and then introducing the human rights and ethics. I'm taking some of the examples which are basically we as a company has done the benchmarking in terms of antibiotic producing, because as I told you in the introduction that we are largely the antibiotic producers. So we looked at that how various companies are now shaping up. So across the globe, I have picked up the example. GSK Tool is a China-based company, and Shinangni is the Japanese-based company. So if you see, they have also done their assessment with respect to the pillars which I was discussing, in terms of their reduction in CO2. Very clear-cut targets they are having: water reduction or water neutrality or zero water concept, which everyone is talking about; waste reduction or recycling or circular economy; AMR, because now most of the antibiotic producers have taken this responsibility because they are top in the supply chain, and we know that how antibiotic producers are also kind of contributing in AMR, and how we can take that responsibility. And then the UN guiding principles of introducing labor and human rights so as to also take care of that pillar. And of course, access to medicine is something which we are talking. So these are few examples which have been taken from their governance reports, that how they are doing and what they're doing. So it was just to give you a reflection overall, that how pharma companies are also now started looking at holistic approach to contain the minimum impact to climate and have more and more sustainable leadership. So what is Centrient vision as far as sustainability is concerned? What is our own target and action? So I would speak now my own story, and then what we are trying to do in India and other parts of the globe also. So this is our pillar of our sustainability vision, which is focused on three big pillars, which is on environment, health and society, and AMR, because we are larger manufacturers of antibiotics. And we have taken very measurable goals to ensure that how do we combat that, and not only combat but also take this leadership so as to influence more peers in this industry, and so as other actors in the value chain. Uh, this pillar I have already spoken about. These are our top priorities. Some of the key challenges which we still face is that, sometimes within our organization, it's very difficult for us to make sure that how our employees, we are working as a sustainable champion, but across the organization, how do we ensure that the messaging and understanding right meaning of sustainability is there? So this is some of the key challenges which we kind of address. Supply chain sustainability, so it's not you but the various actors in the supply chains. That means the raw material which you are procuring, and also the supply which you are making to your customers. Embedding lot of new technologies, developing sustainable initiatives into our operation. And then how do we, because it's at the end of the day a very business organizations also, so we also want to see that how our customer are also valuing sustainability when they are making their purchasing decisions. Now I would speak more on our sustainable antibiotic project, because this flagship project was kicked off in the organization late back in 2014, and it was to ensure that what is our position, what we want to focus in the future. And primarily we started because most of the people, when we talk about AMR with respect to our, they ask us that why do you talk about, and we say that if tomorrow and there is a resistance which is developed to each and other antibiotics which manufacturers are making, what would be our continuity in our business? So that's the risk which we are taking, and hence we ensure that we start speaking about it and taking measures ourselves, and try to influence and inspire other also. We all are, I know that all of you are from this healthcare sector, are aware of antimicrobial resistance as biggest health threat which humanity is facing today. And if it is not addressed, I think it would supersede any of the projection of the diseases which are looking in the public health. And hence it is very important, the cost and the kind of cases which would emerge. By 2050 we can see that it's almost 10 million population which is going to be affected, and more than $100 trillion cost which government has to face for combating antimicrobial resistance. Hence it's very important. Why do we associate antimicrobial resistance with respect to manufacturing? Because we feel that there are the major makers of antibiotics are located in India and China, very handful, like 200 antibiotics. It was an AMR review report which revealed that almost 30,000 to 70,000 ton of antimicrobial active waste, which is excreted in the environment because of the irresponsible discharge of the effluents. Most of this waste is in the liquid form, and hence need to be treated before the release. And environment polluted with the waste can create major reservoirs of antibiotic resistance. Of course, other reasons of antimicrobial resistance is also the misuse in and overuse in human and animals, which I'm not talking, but I'm restricting my discussion with respect to pollution from the factories. This is a very good visual which talks about how a globe comes together when a subject like AMR is concerned, and why everybody needs to own the responsibility, because this is a picture of a supply chain, and how a responsible manufacturing can and the lack of transparency can lead to AMR from the factories. And if we do not step up on the level playing field can be a big threat to everyone. As you can see, India and China are major API and DP producers, which is the dosage formulation. Most of that is being already produced in India and China. There are no standards for antibiotic waste treatment as of now, and hence people are releasing because their governments are not asking. Similarly, most of the distributor insurers are there, and they buy from all kind of players. And similarly, from the Western world, there is no incentive for any companies who are taking leadership flagship in the environmental responsible manufacturing, and hence there is a need for the procurers to step up. And you would see in my subsequent slides also that is something which needs to be taken care as far as the procurement is also concerned. So hence it's an integrated approach. Various public agencies, governments, regulatory bodies need to come together, industry need to come together to ensure that we play an important role in combating AMR by the environment, and hence making minimal impact to the climate. Combating the further spread of AMR, what we are doing at Sentient Pharmaceutical, we have already taken the goal that all our production would be AMA free, and we would have all the validated test methods which are there to ensure that all our streams have minimal or the standards which are laid down as far as our discharges are concerned. Support our partners by the technology, because this is a very new subject, and not only pharmaceutical but a lot of hospitals etc can also really take the practices from us, take leadership stance on AMR with focus on the environmental angle, because this is a very important topic which need to be brought up, and drive and influence standard and policy changes as far as environment are concerned. And that is something which we are working with the Indian government, and similarly our colleagues in China are also working with the Chinese government. Now, reducing our environment impact is our top priority. As you can see, this is a visual from our wastewater treatment plant from India site. So environment is our top priority. Our sites are already ISO 14001 certified, and we firmly believes that treating wastewater and disposing waste in compliance with the national regulation, pharmaceutical supply chain initiative, and AMR industry framework is our responsibility, and we are committed to that. Our sites, all sites are equipped with wastewater treatment plants, upgraded regularly, and they are operation 364 by 724 days. Treated water is tested for regulatory parameters, which is PNEC, which is predicted no effect concentration, and solid waste as per the regulation. And we are also monitoring our other KPIs, which is carbon emission, energy use, water, and Sentient also aspired to carbon neutral, 100% recycle, zero waste to landfill, and AMI free manufacturing network. So Sentient's combating AMR is also a big initiative. As you can see that we have a dedicated team. This is a long journey from 2014, where we had a dedicated team to divide, to come up with the methodology and the qualitative and the test. And then we became signatory to UNGA along with the 13 companies to ensure that there is a framework as far as AMR is concerned. And then we developed, in fact we were one of the leader to come up with the PNEC targets and started testing. And I'm very proud to share that all our Indian sites and most of our global sites are meeting the PNEC targets, which I discussed a few minutes back with you. And these are our answers to AMR. We are using our best product technology. We are using enzymatic technology compared to the chemical technology, and hence have a lowest environmental impact throughout the supply chain. And as you can see, the enzymatic technology is a patent technology and has more of water as the primary reason other than chemicals, dedicated wastewater, and we have specific tests to ensure that whatever we are disposing to the environment is free of antibiotic residues. This is some of the work which mostly is done by me, which is on the policy front. So I'm working very closely with the government of India and the bodies which are associated to ensure that how do we make the change as far as the policy is concerned. And way back in 2017, the Indian government has launched the National Action Plan on AMR, also included the environmental aspect and recommended setting on the standard environment antibiotic residues in industrial effluent. And I'm very proud that Center Pollution Control Board and Ministry of Environment brought up these standards, but as of now has not been released, because there is a lot of discussions which are going on, Make in India initiatives and also sustainable Make in India initiatives. And it's in the draft proposal, and let's see when the standards would come out. The other engagements which we are doing are providing the technical experts to create push for the research to fill in the critical gaps. And we are also organizing workshop, which is the STEM workshop, which is sustainability through excellence in manufacturing, to all our customers in India and APAC region, to educate them, to invite to our plant, and also share our practices as far as sustainability is concerned, and very importantly whatever we are doing with respect to AMR. And I'm very proud that as Dr. Ishika had shared, that we are also associated with the SHIP project, which in India is led by Healthcare Without Harm and the PHFI. And we are also part of the REAP project along with UNDP. And the whole idea to be part of this institution is to ensure that how do we share our practices, also ensure that these institutes also take AMR as priority in their agenda, and make it larger, bigger, and also influence the other actors in the value chain. We are also members of pharmaceutical supply chain, and just to give you an example is that it's a group of almost 41 companies, which has a common audit protocol, and almost 80% of the network is covered in PSCI, which is like huge. And they are also continuously conducting capability workshops both in India and China, again to ensure that the suppliers and buyers are made use of it, and they also start incorporating the sustainability principles, which includes labor, human rights, ethics, environment, AMR, and other features. And Antimicrobial Resistance Industry Alliance, which was after the UNGA roadmap was signed, and almost 15 plus companies have become now member, and we have come up with the PNEC targets, which we are ourselves are following, and now through network we are trying to influence the various sectors to see that how they can also meet their targets. Other initiatives which I want to speak is on the procurement and how we are doing it. So you heard me talking about the REAP project with the UNDP. Now the project is renamed as RAMP, and there are various bodies which has come up. CV, which is Stockholm International Water Body, and then Centrient, Swiss Development, AMR Industrial Network, and consulting firms like Shawview, GSK, Sendoch, specifically to AMR. And we are looking at that how we can have this platform to ensure there are changes in the policy front, both at the regulation and the procurement. And also we can provide assistance, technical assistance to the companies who becomes the part of it. Just to give you an example, in India, one of the leading companies have also being part of the technical project pilot, and we have already conducted 2 workshops in Hyderabad as well as in Bangalore. And then PSCI, I already spoke about it, that we are member and we are using these platforms to see that how the companies can come up, and we are able to influence the larger network of pharma supplies. AMR Industry Alliance, I already talk about it. And one new thing which I want to add is that WHO is already looking at their GMP inspection to also embrace the environmental risk assessment, including AMR, to the suppliers, so as to look at what possible changes can be made in the GMP also. I think this, I have already spoke about it, that what is AMRI is looking at. We are looking at publishing the common antibiotic manufacturing framework. Specifically, this initiative is towards the AMR and come up with the PNEC values and ensure that by 2024, most of the pharma companies are able to be part of the initiative. As you can see, the pillars in orange and blue color also. Similarly, industry is looking at self-regulating through PSCI analysis also, and this is like a big platform. As you can see, it covers more than 80% of the supply chain by value. And we are also looking at how the audits can be uploaded, and how people, more and more associations can get influence to inculcate the various practices with respect to sustainability pillar, which is environment and AMR, health and safety, management systems, labors, and ethics. And with this, I think this is kind of my last slides based on the work which we have done so far and how various sectors can come together, and what are the gaps according to us which need to be addressed as far as AMR and thereby sustainability and climate change are concerned, which is having a very science-based targets for the final discharge from the factories, because this would ensure the minimal discharge through the factories, which is not harming the environment and other water bodies. Also, I think it's a responsibility that all these techniques are scalable and also economical, so that various scales of pharmaceutical companies and other environmental sources like hospitals, animal, etc., can use these technologies in their water streams to ensure that there is no antibiotic residues in their final discharges. We, as in manufacturers and top in the value chain, we need to have transparency throughout the supply chain. And we also now working in India at the state level action plans, so that from the central it is going to the hubs where largest manufacturers are located, and that is where our focus is also there. And of course the awareness and stewardship which is required to the technical know-how for tackling AMR. Yeah, thank you for your attention, and maybe over to Dr. Ishika and Purnima.
Thank you very much, Ms. Suman, for your excellent presentation. This has definitely increased our awareness on this issue of global antimicrobial resistance, and we can surely learn from the best practices from your organization. With that, we have a couple of questions. We shall begin with the question and answer round, seeing the time. So can you see, should I read them out for you?
Okay, yeah, it would be helpful so that I can.
Okay, the first question is, India is one of the biggest pharma manufacturers globally. How can India lead by example in reducing AMR globally? It's a very general, question.
Yeah. So I think, as I told, that something which I can really feel very proud of our government is that we had taken very good steps in having a very comprehensive national action plan. And as I understand from various discussion, and I think it was acknowledged in World Health Assembly also, that India's national action plan had all the elements, in terms of combating AMR. And AMR is like a big subject, and I would zoom out with respect to what is happening in the environment. I'm not touching about other while I know that there has been a lead in that areas also. So, so the discussion when we were also part of the various expert committee was that how do we start leadership? And we felt that it's because India is a big hub of antibiotic manufacturers. So how antibiotic manufacturers can take this responsibility? Because that the number is a handful, and you can have the larger pilots there so that the other actors in the value chain can learn about it. And that's the reason Centrient actually came up and started showcasing that what is that we can do. We also created, with the support of in fact UNDP and GSKs and CV, this ramp platform to have this dialogue which is on policy based and also on the technical pilots, that is at the factory level, to provide them complete support as far as the effluent discharge is concerned. And the idea was that once we learn these practices, we can then share this with lot of hospitals, because whenever we get into the dialogues, people say, hey, listen, it's not only the pharmaceutical, it's also the sewage, it is also the hospitals, it's also the antibiotics which are being used in animals. But these are all a couple of them really are unorganized sectors. So the idea was that from organized sector, how you can make that practices to unorganized sector. And that's why we created this platform. And my ask here would be that if India has to take leadership, then obviously that we all have to come together. And as Centrient, we are helpful to provide all our network, all our platform, even the visit to our factories with respect to our antibiotics. And I think this is the only way that India can lead. I hope I am able to answer that question. Dr. Ishika?
Thank you. Thank you for answering that question. I'll take the other question from Ms. Lata. She is asking about, can you elaborate the mechanism of final method of drug disposal for expiry or damaged drugs? And there is a second part also. Is there any step taken towards EPRs, especially for packaging?
Yeah, Dr. Ishika, I mean, one of the question I can take up, and secondly, because I'm not a technical person, so I would take that question and come back to the respective audience with the answer through you people. As far as the expiry drugs are concerned, because we are B2B company, so we are not the people who are making tablets in India. But what I learned is that most of the this is something which can come as an extended responsibility, extended producer responsibility, which is also called EPR. And this is something which I remember that NCDC was also talking about when they were discussing with the pharmacies and the other hospitals and the final producers who are making up, that they should take it back. And then what we could only think through was the incineration was the process by which all the expired drugs can be then taken care of it. So this is what I know. But on the second question, maybe I would consult my technical team and get back to you on that.
Yes, with that, I would request the participants, if you have any other queries, you can send it to us. We will leave the mail address, email IDs of the speaker and also the help and leadership platform you are already part of. With that, there is a question from Ananya on, is there any specific water treatment technology available in India that ensures no antibiotic residue is discharged into the environment from manufacturing units?
Yeah. So, Dr. Ananya, as far as I know, I mean, there are 3 types of wastewater treatment depending on the scale of the manufacturers, which is primary, secondary, and tertiary. So most of the leading or big scale companies basically use the tertiary mechanism. That means they kind of use reverse osmosis, and they use multiple evaporators and UV electrooxidation. These are the kind of processes which are used. And in the other type of treatment, which is primary and secondary, it is basically having the basic residues cleared, and then they kind of send to the CETPs, which is central effluent treatment plants, and the biological treatments. So the idea here is that the big players who are actually doing all these things need to test their residues, and so testing is very important. And like with Centrion, we do it through various mechanism. We have this method which is called PNEC method, which is we look at it is basically the LCMS method, which is a liquid chromatography, a mass spectrometry method, and we ensure that it meets the minimal no effect concentration. But at the same time, we also have the qualitative method, which we had, which is called Delvo test, which is our own mechanism because of our Dutch origin, to ensure that the minimum disposable level is 50 parts per billion. But the validated method is US FDA 1594 LCMS method. And this is what we have learned from Center Pollution Control Board also.
Okay, thank you for addressing her question. We will take one last question and shall close today's session. This is from Vikram. If there are no regulations for treatment of effluents discharged during the manufacturing of drugs, how ISO 14001 certification ensures environmentally disposal of waste? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that is where the loophole is, and this is what the policy work as a lone actor we are trying to do with the government. There are no regulations, and ISO certification, actually people were not aware only that, you know, there is discharge, because most of the discharge is in transparent liquid form. And I mean, till today, if you speak to the other manufacturers, antibiotic manufacturers, people don't even accept this, that, you know, residues can create an AMR, so they are discharging it like that way. It's as we call it, is more irresponsible manufacturing, and hence it is not bringing up level playing, and there is no incentives also that why people should consider looking at that. But now, since many people are becoming clear, and I understand that not a lot of procurement and procurers have now stepped up to look at that, how they are embracing AMR from environment. So in short, there are no regulations, and ISO certification is not even looking at. But let's say in future, if GMP has that, I think most of the problem would be addressed, because it is now primary requirement that most of the factories in India has to meet the GMP certifications.
Thank you so much, Suman. And with that note, I would now like to call Dr. Purnima to conclude this session. And thank you very much for this very informative presentation once again, Ms. Suman.
My pleasure, and thank you to you.
Thank you, Ishika, and thank you to our speaker, Ms. Suman Sharma. I think there was one last question, maybe that was from Sanya Prakash in our own team. And maybe, Suman, if you could just answer, is besides Kerala, if there's any other state that has drafted the state?
Yes. Besides Kerala, Madhya Pradesh has come up, and then Delhi also has come up with their own national action plan. It's only because of the pandemic everything has got to the backseat. I also got to know that Kerala has also agreed, because I think Dr. Sharda there actually is very active, to host a meeting with all the states in the south area to ensure that they can take up that leadership as far as the state action plans are concerned. And it is also been looked upon now by Northeast, I think Assam, as far as the state action plans are concerned. So Madhya Pradesh, Delhi and Kerala has their action plans already in place.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for answering that as well. I just want to reiterate my colleague, Dr. Ishika's words, and thank you on behalf of my team at the Center for Chronic Disease Control and all the participants as well for a very insightful presentation on this topic today. I think we have heard you speak before, and I think we have learned each time about your leadership in sustainability initiatives. So though the focus was on the antibiotic production, rightly so, because that's the focus of your institution, I think there's lots of lessons to be learned for other peers in the pharmaceutical sector in terms of sustainability initiatives and how they can reduce their climate footprint by adopting these practices. And thank you for being a leader in this domain. And I'm sure that you have been a great influencer as well. And I think not just in the practices in your own institution, but also advocating very actively with the government at the national and subnational levels. I think that's such an important part of the work that we all do as well, for climate change and climate change leadership. I think one thing is to do the practice on the ground, the implementation, being the facilitators as well as the promoters, but apart from that, actually also work to make effective policy making happen. And I think that's a very critical part of the whole piece. So thank you. And we really appreciate you taking the time out to be with us as part of this webinar today. I think, I was thinking about the parallels, not just in terms of the antibiotics, but also India today being a front runner in the vaccine production as well, like not just for our own use, but also millions of doses being produced and exported to other countries as a friendly measure. I hope that we are all also cognizant, not just in antibiotics or vaccines, but in every other production sector within pharmaceutical industry, to be thinking about the 3 pillars of sustainability that you very nicely talked about, not just the environmental impacts, but as well as the health and the social impacts. I think it's at the core of the work that we all do, and we can move the needle for this agenda for our country going forwards together. So thank you for a great presentation, and thank you to my team at the Center for Chronic Disease Control, Dr. Ishika Jaria, Mazroor, and everyone else, and all the participants for joining us today. Have a great weekend and look forward to seeing you in our next edition as well. Thank you, Suman.
Thank you very much, Dr. Purnima and everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to ask Masroor to leave the email, Ms. Suman's email ID, so that if there are any other questions also, they can send.
Yeah, Ishika, I dropped the email ID
Okay.
in the Q&A box.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.